Welcome to the Thaiger and to Lawyers, Guns and Money. Our guest, as usual, is Ben Hart from Integrity Legal, because he brings cakes when he comes in. So that's why we like Ben coming in.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
So Lawyers, Guns and Money, by the way, are you not aware of the song?
I've never heard the song, actually. You mentioned this to me right before we went on air with one of these videos, and I said, no, I've never heard it. So,
but you've heard of Warren Zevon?
I've heard of him today.
So, Lawyers, Guns and Money, a song by Warren Zevon. A good name for the program, anyway.
I definitely like the name.
Mostly about lawyers, not so much about guns and money. Today we're talking about another interesting issue, and this is, I suppose, for people who have been here visiting often, or they've been here on a particular visa, like a B visa or an O visa, and it's the prospect of permanent residency.
Right.
So, firstly, what does being a permanent resident allow you to do that you don't get to do on I'm on a B visa, for example? What does it give me?
It fundamentally changes your status. So under the Immigration Act of 1979, the individual that's in Thailand on a non-immigrant visa, for example, a B visa, an O visa, they're a non-immigrant, and they're covered by that section of the act. So what's relevant for your purposes, for example, you've got to deal with TM30. You've got to deal with 90-day reporting. You've got to renew your visa every 1 year or maybe more, depending on some special dispensation. But long story short, to continue your status, you have to continuously be maintaining it.
Yes.
With immigrant status, which is really what permanent residence probably should be legally defined as, you're an immigrant. You're a landed immigrant here in Thailand. You have permanent residence. You're actually in a blue Tebian bond, just like a Thai national. And there's some other books, the Red Book, for example, associated with your residency. But you're no longer covered under the non-immigrant section of the Immigration Act. So
there's no TM30.
Correct.
There's no 90-day reporting.
Correct.
What else?
There's no extensions. I mean, once you're in resident status, if you just don't leave Thailand, you're done really worrying about your immigrant status.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the major ones. A couple of things that it does not confer, which is very different than other countries. For example, in the U.S., you get a green card. That means you can work. You can do what you like.
Yep.
Thailand, no. Work authorization is still separate from PR. It has been our experience, though, that those who have PR in Thailand, work authorization is not one of these major, things that they're looking to cause you a bunch of consternation trying to get.
Taxation?
It doesn't really change anything.
I pay taxes already.
Sure. Here. Everybody that's in the system is already paying tax if you're working in Thailand. But yeah, it doesn't really, not a lot of change with respect to tax. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then the next step after permanent residency is then citizenship, but that's a whole different hilltop to climb.
Yeah, I would actually argue in certain ways, PR is a little bit more. PR is kind of the big mountain before you get to the slightly less big mountain. Yeah.
Okay.
The PR, getting over it, you've got to meet a lot of criteria, most notably. You've got to have been here for 3 years unbroken, work permits, visas.
Well, okay, let's see if I'm eligible.
Right.
So I've been here for more than 3 years.
Right.
What else?
Work permit.
I've had a work permit for nearly 10 years.
And both of these have been unbroken the entire time?
My work permits have been at least for 4 or 5 years, unbroken.
Okay. Salary?
Oh, paid a fortune.
Okay.
Is there a lower level that I have to be paid over?
The threshold on paper is 80,000 baht.
Okay, per month.
Per month in salary.
Okay.
Now there's some other calculations you can do with total taxes paid in a given year. That being said, the more the better.
Okay.
For obvious reasons, they want to. Yeah, I'll tell you, having gone through a lot of this myself, being a naturalized citizen. They really like to see that you've been paying a lot of taxes in Thailand. So
of course.
That's a major concern.
Right. So I'll probably get over number 3. What about what else?
I mean, at that point, there's kind of a point system. Your age, your educational background will play in. Fluency in Thai plays in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does. It does play in. Permanent residence, less so than citizenship.
Okay.
Citizenship, there are really no breaks given with regard to language. They want to know that you can communicate and read and understand Thai.
Okay, so for permanent residency, the fact that I can order my food in Thai is not going to get me over the threshold?
I mean, every case is going to be different. We've had some folks that we've dealt with over the years that we've gotten their permanent residence, and frankly, their Thai was, they could have very basic conversations, but they're not having complex conversations with people.
I can't even have basic conversations. So I'm stuffed?
Depends. I mean, again, there's some discretion on the part of the immigration officers. It is a point system. So if you're otherwise heavy on other things, they may give you a break. Especially, as I said, PR, they're willing to give a bit more of a break on that issue than in the citizenship process. Citizenship is really its own thing.
We'll do that one day.
Sure.
So let's have a talk about which countries are eligible for permanent residency. Anybody?
Pretty much any country. Now, understand there's a quota system. So each nationality has 100 slots per year that they can utilize.
And so you don't want to come from a country with a lot of people.
Well, like, for example, two of the big countries that tend to hit the quota, bump up against it, China and India, just numbers.
Yeah.
Just numbers. And there are also, I think I remember reading, I think Korea or Japan every once in a while will bump up against the quota.
So Australia, with only 26 million people, I've probably got a better chance.
Well, also you got to filter. So you've got the number of people that then come here, the number of people that expatriate, stay here, then meet the criteria, then deem it reasonable to apply for it. So frankly, I mean, in the Anglosphere, the sort of Commonwealth nations, and then the United States, I don't think I've ever heard of a scenario where they bump up against the quota. I could be wrong on that, but I don't remember.
So if I took Tim Tams and Vegemite along to the meeting, it might give me extra points?
You never know. You never know.
How often does the permanent residency sort of open up for applications, or is it all the time?
No, it is not all the time. We call it the window, the application window. It opens usually once a year. It's been our experience, it will usually open in the last quarter, and the question is when. It's been a little bit anomalous the past few years. Going back about 3 years ago, the Ministry of Interior deemed it appropriate to do it in July. They opened like way early, which was really, that was kind of, we hadn't seen that for a number of years. This year they opened in the end of November, I believe. Now, just because the window's open, so folks watching this right now, here at the end of 2021, yeah, if you're watching this and it's December 21st, for example.
You haven't got a hope.
Yeah, you're probably, because I'm here to tell you, these filings, they're a phone book. I mean, they want certified documentation pertaining to your ID, pertaining to your education, your work history.
Sorry to interrupt, is this something you could do yourself, or you'd need a lawyer or a visa agent?
Well, I've always said, I mean, you can do many things yourself. And, a joke from Chris Rock I once heard, you can drive a car with your feet. It doesn't make it a good idea. I'm not saying it's not a good idea to do it yourself. I've met do-it-yourselfers with PR over the years. Two of them that I talked to literally told me, they said, I just wish I had someone do it. It's sort of like your own taxes. You can do that yourself. Some people opt to do that. Some people don't. It depends. Do you want at the end of it to become an expert on PR, or do you just want to be a PR?
What does it cost?
Depends. It's going to depend heavily from case to case. I know people hate when I'm vague on that, but it really does. It's going to be circumstance dependent.
The documentation, getting that together, is one cost. As far as the Thai government's concerned, is there a cost?
There's I think the current filing fee is like 5,000 baht associated with that. So yeah.
And how many people will get refused?
It happens. Generally speaking, what you see is they basically say, look, we're just not even going to take this case. You don't meet the minimum criteria, and therefore we're just not even going to take it in. And in those cases, folks get kind of bumped back, and then they come back a year later and maybe try again.
And you can do that.
And you can do that. Yeah, sure, you can. I have seen cases, not clients of ours, but other cases that have gone way deep into the process and ultimately been denied and had to come back and refile. Denials do happen. It just because they accept it is not a foregone conclusion they're going to approve it.
Okay, so that's permanent residency. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you very much, Tim.
So that's Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. We've got a link under this particular video in the description if you've got any legal matters you'd like to discuss, or indeed send us a comment in the comment section about topics you'd like us to cover here on Lawyers, Guns and Money. Thanks from me, Tim Newton, on the Thaiger. One more to